In the small coastal town of Seabrook, there was an old lighthouse that stood tall on a rocky cliff overlooking the turbulent sea. It had been abandoned for years, but the locals whispered that it was haunted by the ghost of a former lighthouse keeper named Thomas. Legend had it that Thomas had gone mad after his wife and children were lost at sea during a storm, and that he had thrown himself from the top of the lighthouse. Since then, people had reported hearing strange noises coming from the abandoned tower, and some claimed to have seen a ghostly figure roaming its halls. Despite the rumors, a group of thrill-seeking teenagers decided to explore the lighthouse one moonlit night. They climbed the rocky path up to the tower and made their way inside, armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure. As they climbed the narrow staircase, the air grew colder and their flashlights began to flicker. They could hear strange whispers echoing through the stairwell, and the feeling of unease grew with every step. Finally, they reached the top of the lighthouse and stepped out onto the balcony. The moon cast an eerie glow over the sea, and the wind howled through the rusted metal beams. That's when they saw it, a ghostly figure standing at the edge of the balcony, its form shrouded in mist. It was Thomas, the lighthouse keeper, and he was beckoning them closer. The teenagers froze, unsure of what to do. But as they watched, the figure began to grow larger, and its features became more distinct. They could see that Thomas's face was twisted in a hideous grimace, and his eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The teenagers tried to run, but the staircase had disappeared, leaving them stranded on the balcony with the ghostly figure. They could feel his cold breath on their necks, and his bony fingers reaching out to grab them. They huddled together, praying for it to be over, but the ghost of Thomas wasn't finished with them yet. He began to chant in a language they couldn't understand, and the wind grew stronger, threatening to knock them off the balcony. Suddenly, the teenagers were plunged into darkness, and they could hear the sound of waves crashing against the rocks below. They knew they were falling, but there was nothing they could do to stop it. When they opened their eyes, they were back on the ground, surrounded by the ruins of the lighthouse. They stumbled back to town, shaken and terrified, and they never spoke of the ghostly encounter again. But from that night on, the lighthouse was avoided by everyone in Seabrook. And on quiet nights, you could still hear the whispers of Thomas's ghost, calling out to anyone foolish enough to enter his domain.